Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Film Brits Podcast. I'm your host Trilbee, the Sheriff Woody, the cowboy of film criticism and journalism and such. And yes, Film Brits is back. This is Film Brits Phase 2, if we're going to be copying the Marvel formula. That seems to work very well for them. I'm just going to quickly open up by saying this is only going to be a half-hour thing. These podcasts I'm planning on doing weekly, every weekend, are going to be an hour long, but this one has to be half an hour, mainly because it's just more of an introductory one, just letting you know the formatting, just throwing in a few things, and also just a general update on what I've been doing, and also the fact that I've got family members coming around, like in 45 minutes, so this has to be half an hour. But yeah, where have I been? If you'll notice, over the past 5-6 months, video content where I'm on camera has been very scarce. And video content in general has been pretty scarce, but especially video stuff. And the reason for that is that myself and my partner moved into a flat in Manchester about 5 months ago, and we show up at the place, and then it was missold to us. We were told it would be a furnished flat. The only thing that we'd need to bring would be the white goods, which are the washing machine and the fridge and the freezer. And then they even called us saying, "Oh no, you have the washing machine. That's fine. So just bring the fridge and the freezer." We turn up and the place is barren. It's empty. There's nothing in there except the washing machine. So basically we've had to spend the past 5 months furnishing this place, saving up money to buy furniture, and I guess generally just trying to make things work. And it also hasn't helped the fact, I'm not going to complain, but I've had consistent work in the TV and film industry over the past 5 months, and those are very long hours, so it's kind of hard to just find time to get stuff done in terms of getting a workspace. And the place I'm filming and recording now is going to be my new office. I actually set up the desk this afternoon. I actually set this up. I built this by hand from an IKEA box, well, 2 IKEA boxes. This is a big desk. I'm probably going to do an office tour or something when it's done. There's a sofa here where I'm going to be doing videos, but this is a space that I can call my own. This is a workspace. This is where I'm going to be recording. I apologise if there is any sound issues, if it sounds maybe a bit tinny or echoey. This is just a quick setup. I would have liked to have maybe set up the room a bit more, but like I said, family's coming over in 45 minutes. They didn't even tell me it was happening. It's a surprise for my partner, for my girlfriend. She doesn't know. But yeah, so that's basically what's happening right now. Hopefully in the next few weeks, the podcast is going to be a bit more polished. There will maybe be a different or a better camera angle. I may even show you the office, the desk, or everything that I'm doing over the next few weeks as we stock it with stuff. That is something I'm really looking forward to doing, is having a proper workspace to call my own, and that also means that productivity will hopefully go up. So I'm not doing podcasts with the Movie Mania guys from my bedroom, or our bedroom I should say, or doing stuff like writing reviews in the living room when I'm sharing space and having to move here or there. It's just good to have a creative space, and hopefully that will really help out video production. Of course, I've not been working for the past 2 weeks. I managed to get a couple of weeks off. One of them I spent in Edinburgh for the International Television Festival, which was an amazing experience. Got to direct some Holby City, got to meet some really great people, almost met Russell T Davies, was like that close to meeting Russell T Davies, but something else came up at the time and I'm gutted I didn't, but I'd just love to meet the guy and just basically thank him for bringing Doctor Who back and essentially getting me into the industry. His revival of Doctor Who is why I got into TV and film. But yeah, Film Brits. So what was happening is that myself and Sam Gavin, the previous co-host of the podcast, he was unable to continue due to university and work commitments. Completely understandable. I completely relate to that situation as well. So wish him absolutely all of the best. So I'm going to be flying solo, maybe bringing on some guests every so often, which should be fun. But I'm just looking forward to just having a weekly, hourly podcast, just having more regular content up and talking about more general, broader issues and interacting with you folks a lot more, because I want this to be very community driven. I want you guys to help with the content, and for that I'm going to be setting up I'm going to be readjusting my Patreon and focusing it solely on Film Brits. It's going to be all about getting questions in, getting downloads sent, being able to listen to the podcast early, but more on that a little bit later. So I'm not going to be going over any movie news or any reviews or anything. My website and also my work on geekfeed.com is going to be what covers the news and the reviews and the previews and the box office and everything. So instead, I'm just going to quickly fly through some of the regular features that are going to be part of the podcast. I'm going to open every podcast with a segment I like to call Share the Love, because the internet can be a pretty deplorable place sometimes. There's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of quick to anger, there's a lot of finger pointing, placing blame and all of this stuff. So I like to open the podcast with a bit of positivity, because this, and I'm going to talk about an individual or a group of individuals and just tell you guys just to share the love to those people. And I think that this is a very fitting first one, although it is under very sad circumstances. Now, Doug Walker, otherwise known as the nostalgia critic on channelawesome.com. Now, he hardly needs like my support in that sense. Like, he's got hundreds and thousands of regular followers, millions of views on YouTube, and he is like basically built a online reviewing empire, and he's inspired many people, myself included. Basically, no nostalgia critic, no Trilbee reviews, no Mr. TARDIS reviews. He basically got me into that format. He inspired me, at least, and he does some really great work, and it's great that he's able to make this reviewing and sketch comedy shtick into a proper career and a mini empire, which is amazing. But this past week, Doug Walker and his brother Robert Walker posted on their Facebook pages that their mother unfortunately passed away, Sandy Walker. I remember there was one of the reviews where Doug Walker, nostalgia critic, reviewed one of the worst Christmas specials ever. And at the end of the review, he goes out of his office, out of his room, and sees his mum and his dad. And I think it was the first time that we saw them on camera. I could be wrong, but I think it's the first time they had an extended interaction on camera. And he explained how his mother was an aspiring opera singer, but she gave that up in order to raise Doug and Robert. And I think that that kind of speaks volumes to the type of person that she was. I'm not going to claim to know Sandy Walker or the Walker brothers or anything personally. No, of course not. But I think that in this time, they were clearly very, very close to their parents. Like I don't know the father's name, but he's always taken part in their sketches, and he had a small cameo role in the To Boldly Flee movie, which was really funny. And I think that family, the Walker family, could use some of that love right now. So go on Doug Walker or Robert Walker's Facebook page and just let them know that you're in their thoughts, and that, rest in peace, Sandy Walker. And I hope that the Walker family are just able to make the best out of the situation, and just hopefully that they'll... I don't really know what to say. It's the type of thing, I'm not great at comforting words, and this is probably not the most ideal share the love segment to open with, but I hope you get what I'm talking about. Just, there's a lot of negativity around, and just sometimes it really means a lot to people to just go out there and let them know that they are in your thoughts, that you appreciate them, or that you're thinking about them, or yeah, I think the internet could use more of that, and that's what this segment is all about. So let's move on to the next segment. The next segment is going to be, it'd normally be news or a topic or something that I would like to talk about, but I'm going to be saving that for a future segment. We could talk about something real quick though. I'm just thinking what it could be. I'm literally just making this up off the cuff because I would have had more time to prepare, but family are visiting. Let's talk about the summer. Let's talk about the summer movie season. Yeah, I've not been able to watch as much of it as I would have liked to have done, because I've been working a lot, and it's difficult to... It gets to the point where you're spending so much time making content and making media that you don't really get to see it as much as you would like. But I think it's amazing that a lot of the guaranteed surefire hits from this summer, or the ones that was, or at least the ones that were meant to be either reliable box office money for the studio, or at least reliable in terms of fans, didn't really deliver. We had Independence Day Resurgence, which I think made money for 20th Century Fox, but it was not the big hit that they were hoping it would make. Like, even when you take into account inflation, Independence Day Resurgence did not match the original gross of the film, despite that having like 20 years of inflation and 3D and IMAX ticket prices. Alice Through the Looking Glass made like a third of what its predecessor did. Once again, inflation and ticket prices. These are numbers that should not be as low as they are. And even some really good films like Star Trek Beyond just have not been able to capture audiences. And people are and Ghostbusters as well, and the BFG, and the Legend of Tarzan. These are films that were supposed to be really big hits for the studio. Ben-Hur was the box office bomb of the summer, the biggest bomb that's going to lose Paramount and MGM about $120 million. And people are saying it's franchise fatigue. People are sick of reboots and sequels and remakes, and we need more original stuff. But it's kind of like saying, oh, I'm glad, like, I didn't want to win. But it's the thing you're kind of supposed to say. Like, if you lose a race, you're like, nah, I didn't want to win. Like, you're kind of supposed to say that, but you don't actually mean it. And I think that really just came to fruition here, because if we were going against reboots and sequels and remakes, then we wouldn't have watched Suicide Squad. We wouldn't have watched Captain America Civil War, which featured the third Spider-Man of this century. We are seeing these sequels, we are seeing these reboots and remakes, and we are giving them press and attention, and we are going to see them, but we're being much more selective with what we see. I think Ben-Hur kind of taught the industry that you can't just get any name, any franchise, and just remake it, release it, slap it out there, and people will go see it. You need to be far more selective with what you're going to be remaking or rebooting or making a sequel to. But even like Jurassic World last year, that made like $1.5 billion, and I was thinking that if Independence Day Resurgence had been good, it was a pile of trash, but if it had been good, we could have been talking about a $1 billion film here, but it just didn't happen. Like, the audience anticipation just was not there. I think reviews are also playing a big part of this. There was a time when, like before Twitter and Facebook and MySpace, when there wasn't instant gratification, when there wasn't immediate bad press about a film, that it could have a big box office opening weekend or a second weekend before petering out, and word of mouth slowly spreads. But like Fantastic last year, that was projected for like a $40 million opening. And then once the reviews came in and the Thursday or Friday night box office figures came out, and word of mouth just crushed that movie instantly, and I don't think it even made 20 million in its opening weekend, like thereabouts, but like the projections and the reality were vastly different, and outlets like The Hollywood Reporter are saying that it's because of word of mouth, because people can just live tweet their experiences. They can go out of, say, The Shallows and tweet about how great it is or how bad it is, and then people can go and see it out of that. But speaking of The Shallows, when you say we want more original films, we want to see more original stuff, we had films like Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping, The Shallows, Kubo and the Two Strings, Don't Breathe. We have all of these original films coming out, and they're not making big bank. Like films like The Shallows, where they cost like 20 million to make or 30 million thereabouts, they're going to make their budget back on an 80 to 90 million dollar gross. Things like Kubo and the Two Strings, that's going to have to make maybe like 150, 180 million to break even and make a profit, which we don't think it's going to, unfortunately, but we'll have to see what the international gross does for that film. But when people say, oh, we'll need to see more original films, but you're not going to see them, though. Saying that you want original films and that you're sick of reboots and remakes and sequels, it sounds like the right thing to say, but the box office numbers just don't reflect it. Every so often you will get an anomaly, like you will get an Inside Out or a Kung Fu, but these are animated films, like Secret Life of Pets, like an animated film. Animated original films do tend to do very well, unless they're stop motion, because, Kubo and the Two Strings. Once again, it's audience members being very selective about what they see. And the box office taking for the summer of 2016 was like 4% higher than the box office takings for 2015, at least domestically, in America. But the reason for that was because more films were released this summer than there were last summer, and there were also more big budget films released this summer than there were last summer. I think there may be 2 or 3 more movies released this summer with a $100 million budget or above than last year, and it's just sheer numbers that are keeping that, as well as inflation as well. That inflation can't be understated. So I think what's going to happen is that studios are going to look at this summer and they're going to say, okay, Suicide Squad, Batman v Superman, Secret Life of Pets, and a few others made a lot of money, but these, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, that could have been a big film, and it wasn't even. It was okay. It was a good film. It was a definite improvement over the previous one, but it was a bit of a box office flop. It didn't do as well as Paramount were expecting it to. Like not even close. I don't even think it matched the take of the first film, which is disappointing because it's so much better than the first film, and I think it was much better marketed as well. That's always disappointing when you get a film like Ghostbusters or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows or Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping that is really good, but the numbers just aren't there. And then you get something like Suicide Squad, which doesn't really qualify as a film. It just feels like a collection of scenes put together. It's not really a narrative, strictly speaking, yet that can make like $600-700 million, but because of the extensive reshoots, it's going to be hard to know whether or not Warner Brothers made an actual profit on that film. That's going to be tough to tell. But yeah, people are being very selective about what they see. They do want to see these cinematic universes, and even if the films aren't good, like Suicide Squad or Batman v Superman, they they believe in a premise a lot more than sometimes the quality or the brand. The premise of having a group of villains be like an anti-Avengers and they've got to do a mission like in Suicide Squad, that gets people interested. That premise, and like Secret Life of Pets, what do your pets do when you're out of the house, that captivates people and that gets them into the screening. Whether or not that gets them back for multiple viewings, which is where a lot of the box office comes from nowadays, like it's got to depend on the quality of the film, the word of mouth, the marketing, and of course the actual brand itself. Like, you can't just release like a Ben-Hur or like even David Brent's Life on the Road. That's not done great numbers in the UK. Like, it's not flopped or anything, but it's not done great. Absolutely fabulous, the movie that did very well, but it's the British film industry as well. The biggest hits this year have been adaptations, like the Dad's Army movie. That was quite a big hit in the UK, and it's just these brand recognitions. Mrs. Brown's Boys to Movie, Keith Lemon the movie, The In-Betweeners movie. These TV to film adaptations, we're not seeing that much original stuff coming out of the UK film industry, because these cheap TV to film adaptations, they're cheap to make, the template is already there, you get the original cast of the creative team, bing bang boom, you've got a film. Whether or not it's good or not, like Mrs. Brown's Boys to Movie is a pile of pants, but it made a lot of money. It's one of the biggest Irish films of all time. But you do get something like Sing Street, which is so cheap and so under the radar that it does actually slowly make a profit over time. At least I hope it's made a profit. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Like I said, this whole segment has just been off the cuff. I've genuinely not planned this. So yeah, it's going to be a very selective future in terms of what's going to be greenlit, or maybe studios will just start panicking and just start greenlighting everything and just finding out just what sticks. But budgets have got to come down. Budgets have just got to be put in moderation, because something like Ben-Hur costing like 120 million, like that was... It makes sense on paper, but no one was going to go see Ben-Hur and spend over... And that movie was no way going to break 300 million worldwide to make a profit. That was just a stupid decision right off the bat. Like, I'm not against the idea of remakes or reboots or sequels inherently. Just make them good and see if they deserve to exist or not. Like the new Ghostbusters, while it did have its problems, I think that deserved to be made. I think that the creative team was very good and they did a good job with the source material, and the end result was really good. But unfortunately, a terrible marketing campaign just killed that movie, as well as just the genuine misogyny that was surrounding it as well. That just became a very toxic environment in which to discuss the movie, which is very, very depressing, because that movie had nothing but good intentions, at least on the part of the creators, the people making it. Like, the studio were probably very cynical about it, but the people who made it, Paul Feig, Melissa McCarthy and everybody, they, like, you just watch the movie, they had nothing but the best of intentions. So yeah, it's been a very up and down summer. The good films didn't quite make an impact, like Popstar and Star Trek Beyond and the BFG. Some of them did, like Finding Dory, which is very good, and Captain America Civil War, of course. And there were just some films that, yeah, just flopped, unfortunately, that really didn't deserve to. So that was my summer improvised roundup, really. So let's talk about the next segment. I'm just going to take a quick drink. My next segment is going to be Blu-ray of the week. Now, Blu-ray of the week or DVD of the week or whatever, no idea. I might not do this every year. Blu-ray of the week. Not going to do this every week. Maybe depends if I can be bothered to go out and find a Blu-ray or DVD worth getting every week. But this week I've got a good one for you. Captain America Civil War. This is a steelbook. It's a Zavvi exclusive, and my God, wait, it's got a partial slipcase, but if you look on the front, it's got the half Iron Man mask, half Captain America shield, and how is that for a back cover? This is actually a 3D Blu-ray. It's got 2 discs. One of them is the standard Blu-ray 2D film and the 2D special features, and the third one is the film in 3D. I do not have a 3D TV or a 3D Blu-ray player, but the reason I got this was because of the steelbook, of course, but also the DVD offerings in terms of slipcases and covers looked pretty pants. Like, you had these ones where they had Captain America on one side on one cover, and then on another cover it was Iron Man, and you put them both together. Like, I'm not buying 2 Blu-rays so they can look awkward as hell on my shelf. That's absolutely stupid. So when I posted about that on my Facebook page, yes, it is first world problems, and proud, but also people pointed out this steelbook and told me where to get it from. And Zavvi, when I checked, they were having like a Marvel day where for 24 hours you could get like £5 off any purchase. So I thought, why not? Let's get this. It was free delivery as well. So a steelbook. Awesome stuff. You can get this on Zavvi. I don't think the £5 off discount is still there, but this is my Blu-ray of the week. Captain America Civil War is the only movie this year that I've given a 10 out of 10 to that was not a holdover from last year. Actually, I don't even think I've given a holdover from last year a 10 out of 10. A lot of 9 out of 10s, but not 10 out of 10. This is easily the best film of the summer. The airport sequence is probably one of the best fight scenes in superhero movie history, and the climax of the film, the last 20 minutes, is genuinely heartbreaking, seeing these two sides who are both right in their own way, just tear each other apart and just confront each other over personal and political issues. And it just does really become so personal at the end. Robert Downey Jr. is incredible in the role. Chris Evans is great as well. There are so many set pieces. Ant-Man is a great addition who really helps to ground the film. Spider-Man's awesome. Black Panther. It really is the whole package and is one of the best superhero movies ever, and I think it is the best non-Avengers movie of the MCU, but it kind of has all the Avengers in it anyway, so that might be slightly cheating. But Captain America Civil War is my Blu-ray of the week. So let's go on to the final segment, which is all about what you folks suggest, and if you are part of the Patreon tier that applies for this, you can request topics and stuff like that. I'm actually going to do something really quick just for fun, see if this actually works out. So I'm going to put something on Twitter right now. I should have done this earlier, but like I said, I didn't really have the setup. So I'm going to put on Twitter, I'm recording, hashtag Film Brits, ask your questions in the next 5-10 minutes to get them read out. Once I've done this one question, I'm going to take a few from Twitter really, really quickly. That's gone right now. So let's see. Let's hope I get some in the next 5 minutes. Otherwise, that'll be very, very embarrassing. But I did do a call out a couple of weeks ago saying that Film Brits was coming back, and on Patreon I only got one question. So a bit disheartening, but let's see how this goes. So Dean Jones, this is for Film Brits. Great to hear it's back. My question is, do you think that the DC EU movies would work better if they copied the Marvel template by releasing several solo movies to properly establish plots and characters before the big events such as BVS and Justice League? It's a loaded question, but I think that there is a good answer to this. It's like, you can understand that when Marvel did their own thing, they did the solo movies, Iron Man, Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor and Captain America, then they went to the Avengers. You can understand that when Warner Brothers and DC did their own thing, they wanted to differentiate themselves. So I think Man of Steel is a great introduction to a DC extended universe or DC cinematic universe, because you bring Superman in. Superman, the world's first superhero, it makes sense to open things with him, because then you immediately go cosmic, you immediately go space-bound, and you establish this archetypal hero who is the template for all of the other heroes that come around him. Very much like how Superman was in real life, in that Superman is one of the first big superheroes ever, and all of the other superheroes, whether intentionally or not, do follow from his ethos, his design, his origin story. They do follow the Superman template, so it makes sense to open with him. Then going for Batman v Superman, having a Batman and Superman movie makes sense, but having a versus movie right off the bat, there's no stakes there, because these two don't know each other, and the film, I was very concerned with Batman v Superman when I was watching the trailers and I had no idea why these two were fighting, and then I was even more concerned when I was 2.5 hours into this movie and I still had no idea why they were fighting. So that was a big issue. So having a versus movie and having no baggage, like maybe you're having a Batman and Superman fight in a movie for like 2 minutes in the first or second act and then moving on to other things. That's the premise for a scene in a movie. It's not a premise for an entire movie, like in the Avengers when Thor and Iron Man fought for a couple of minutes before Captain America intervened. That was a great scene, because it's a fiery confrontation, it's a nice action beat, but then they got on with the story and expanding the universe. Whereas I think when they're trying to make a DC extended universe or do some world building and expand the universe, having Batman and Superman fight each other for very contrived or undetermined reasons kind of does a lot to halt the world building. I think that having solo movies, or going from Superman and then branching out to Batman and Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Cyborg before going to Justice League, maybe adding a couple more heroes each time before you get to Justice League, like Warner Brothers have been doing, the template is sound. In theory, it can work, and it can work really well in its own way and differentiate itself, and also make up for lost time, because people are comparing, the DC Extended Universe's movie, their second movie was Batman v Superman. For Marvel, it was Hulk, and Hulk made only $250 million, and Batman v Superman made $800 million. That means DC is better. It's a stupid argument. But of course, like, a movie with Batman v Superman in it is of course going to make more money than a Hulk movie. Of course it is. It's like stupid to claim that automatically makes the Batman v Superman better or DC better. It's a stupid argument, and I'm sure that the people saying it know it as well. But when you get what they did in terms of the actual approach and the story and the style, Zack Snyder's style and his way of storytelling, that's when you get into problems. There's nothing wrong with opening with Superman, then extending to Batman and Wonder Woman, and then going to Justice League. There's nothing wrong with that in theory, but the story's got to work for it, the characters have got to work with it, and I'm sick to death of DC and Warner Brothers casting amazing actors like Ben Affleck and Jeremy Irons, Jason Momoa, and all of Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, all of these superb actors who are perfectly cast in their roles, or at least interestingly cast in these incarnations. Like Jeremy Irons as a younger, war-torn Alfred is a great casting choice, and then just having the scripts completely fail to do them justice, completely failing to do those actors justice. Because Harley Quinn, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, is perfect casting. The movie lets her down so much, and there's the door. Right, so, okay, sorry about the updated camera change, or if there's any difference in quality or whatever for the sound of the video. Just had to greet some family, and I'm just going to, I pretty much got to the end of the question anyway, so I'm just going to do a quick lightning round on Twitter. Jedi Marvelite says, how would you rank the Harry Potter films? Okay, I'm going to go from best to worst. This is off the top of my head, I'm sorry if I repeat or miss anything out. Deathly Hallows Part 2, Prisoner of Azkaban, Order of the Phoenix, Philosopher's Stone, what else have we got? Deathly Hallows Part 1, Half-Blood Prince, and Chamber of Secrets. Chamber of Secrets I think is the weakest one. And I think that Deathly Hallows Part 2 and Prisoner of Azkaban are more or less tied for number 1. Those are my rankings. I still need to revisit Deathly Hallows Part 1 because we're doing it for the Movie Mania podcast. Order of the Phoenix held up a lot better than I thought it did, and Half-Blood Prince felt like it was in desperate need of another run through the editing room. Terminator Rants says, why does YMS nitpick too much? Does YMS nitpick too much? Your movie sucks, the YouTuber. Yes, he does. But there are some things like Amazing Spider-Man 2 completely deserves all of the nitpicking against it, but something like Inside Out, where he can't even get past like the idea of the emotions in the head, like he can't even get the conceit of the story, and he just bases the whole movie on that, his misunderstanding of it. Yeah, I do think that he nitpicks too much. And I do think that, I'm not going to call him a hipster or anything, but he definitely has a preference for the art house, independent or original stuff. And some of the more mainstream, for lack of a better term, movies do seem to get his ire a lot more than probably they deserve to. But I still like YMS. I'm subscribed to him. I enjoy his content. And I do love his Unfriended review. I think that's one of the best reviews ever on the internet, ever. Ed says, why is it the same people who complain about there not being any original films Why is it the same people who complain about there not being any original films are the ones who don't end up seeing them? ? Well, Ed, it's tough. Like, why is it those people who complain about there being no original films? I think it's because people who really just want the original films to just be in their face, trailer after trailer, TV spot, magazine covers, posters everywhere, whereas original films don't get the budget or the marketing for that. But maybe that was an excuse like 10, 20 years ago, but now that the internet's around, if like what I'm going to do right now, okay, original films, September 2016, you Google it, and what do you get? Oh, you get a lot of Netflix releases. Here we go, 10 movies we're looking forward to in September. 7, that's from Screen Rant. We've got Light Between Oceans, I think that's original. Yoga Hosers, that's original. Sully is a true story. Blair Witch is a reboot. Snowden, true story. Magnificent Seven remake. Storks, original, kind of. Masterminds, original. No, that's based off a true story, isn't it? Yeah, that kind of went wrong. But when you do get things like Kubo and the Two Strings and Don't Breathe, they do have a marketing effort. You just have to maybe go on Wikipedia and look up films coming out in September, and then it will list them, and then you may have to do a bit of the legwork. You may have to do some of the effort and look and watch the trailers. Like, maybe what I recommend doing is going on like Joe Blow on YouTube, or following all the different movie companies on YouTube and subscribing to them, so that all of their trailers for their indie films as well as their big blockbusters appear in your subscription feeds, and then you watch those trailers. Just watch anything and everything that seems to take your fancy, and hopefully you'll see more original films. And also listen to critics. People are raving about Don't Breathe or Kubo and the Two Strings, and they are original films, so listen to the critics who are telling you about these films. You've got to do a little bit more legwork than you would for, say, Doctor Strange, but you will find original content out there. There are more original films being made now than at any point in Hollywood history, so you've got no excuse to not be able to find them. Gullible Idiot asks, Kylo Ren versus Darth Vader, who wins? We've had 3 films with Darth Vader and 1 with Kylo Ren. We've had 4 films, I guess, with Darth Vader. I'd probably say Kylo Ren, though. He did stop the blaster. He has the lightsaber that seems more powerful than a conventional one. Also, Darth Vader has the suit, which kind of limits his mobility and it messes with his body. So Kylo Ren just wears the costume and the mask to appear like Darth Vader, but he probably has all the maneuverability. I'd probably say Kylo Ren, but Darth Vader is still a great character. I like Kylo Ren a lot as well. And final question from Joseph Hudson: what is your favourite sports movie? I'm not into sports, so I don't really watch sports movies, but some really good ones recently. I liked 42, which is the Jackie Robinson biopic that had Chadwick Boseman as Jackie Robinson, and Harrison Ford doing a great performance as his coach. He was really great in that film, Harrison Ford. I recommend 42 a lot. That's a really good sports movie as well. It gets behind the character, and also, as someone who's not really a fan of baseball, I really enjoyed it. Olympic movies are good as well, like Eddie the Eagle and Cool Runnings, if you can count those. I think those are really good. I just got a new notification as I was talking, so why was this summer movie season so horrific? Listen to the Film Brits podcast and you'll probably find out. I don't think it was horrific, it just really underwhelmed and kind of just went by with a bit of a wet fart. It was, like I said, another notification, so yeah, I've basically explained all of it. I don't think it was horrific, but the ones that we really rely on kind of let the side down, and the ones that were good, people didn't really go and see. That's a favourite, that is not a tweet. So yeah, that was the last question. So that was the lightning round. So I'll do those probably with a bit more advance notice so people can get questions in and we just rattle them off really, really quickly. But if you want more in-depth discussion or to choose a topic and have a lot more control over the podcast, then you can go to www.patreon.com/Trilbee, and there'll be different pledges. I've not fully set them up yet, but it's going to be basically $1 is going to be you get email notifications for everything I do, whether it's a video or an article or whatever. And you'll also get the podcast a day early, and you'll get a download of it. You'll get it a day early from everybody else. And from the tiers up there, you'll get you'll be able to answer questions or have questions or topics, be a sponsor of the podcast, and just stuff like that. So please check that out if you want to support the Film Brits podcast. If you want to get some more discussions going in the movie-going community, then I'll really look forward to seeing how that turns out. So thank you very much for listening to the Film Brits podcast. My name is Trilbee, and I shall see you folks next week.